warm welcome from our side. We have an exciting 1 hour in front of us to give you some insights on inclusive leadership, focusing on this year's DE&I week motto, resistance, that we might be experiencing in the workforce, and we would like to also translate that into some theories to better understand theoretical background, knowing what research tells us and how we can translate that into the practical world. So I'm happy to see some cameras on and some faces. That should be an interactive dialogue. So the session is called a dynamic dialogue. So we are happy for you to join into the discussion, to participate, learn also from your experiences, to have a platform of shared learning and knowledge transfer. I think we can start with the first opening question, Huong. To dive right into the topic, we prepared, let's say, a short icebreaker to better understand what your experiences are with DEI resistance, and you can either use the chat or you can unmute yourself to speak up and share your experience. And I think that's a good starting point for us to start diving into the topic. Okay, I see your first chat response: reverse discrimination, white men don't feel included. Zeros, I'm thinking if women gain, men are doing to lose.
I think it's a going to lose, yeah.
I guess that's a typo, yeah, makes more sense. Identity politics unrelated to business. Cynicism, I think that's something that is happening quite often as well. It's a nice to have soft topic and not critical for business. I guess quite some people can relate to that as well. White men making the rules but don't want to understand the issues. As an argument against, it's not discrimination. We did it always this way. It's only our problem, not worth money spent. Overspending budgets in events and campaigns where is the link to our priorities? It's only for certain people, not for everyone. No consequence if aspirations aren't met. Women are fighting for something, but men will never really understand beyond the numbers. It's only something for women. The question, who is a high performer, is always gendered. Someone from Stanford is least high potential if it's a woman. Okay. Performative DEI, some of even the most vocal DEI advocates are still quite exclusive when it's important. It is a very crucial topic, but our climate is not ready for it. Talking a lot but doing nothing. Not wanting to look at their own privileges. Wow, so I think there are quite some topics that you are already confronted with in your environment that we will also for sure address today. Argument from women: I want to be admired for my performance, expertise, and don't want to be a quota woman. CVs from suitable candidates got rejected despite good fit, while CVs from candidates that did not fit got released to the manager. So biased candidate selection I hear out of that statement. Leaders may want to be inclusive, but often are not ready for the critical feedback and conversations to get there. Right, it can be tough to be confronted with one's own biases, right? The proclaimed inclusivity, diversity is about every individual, never materialized in 25 years. So yeah, we see that's a long journey. It needs persistence, patience. But we think with the right tools, it might be also easier to get there. And I think that's something that we want to discuss today. Let's go on the next slide, Huong. I also summarized some statements that we hear, and I think it's kind of capturing also some parts that you mentioned, and might also sound familiar to you, those statements. I don't understand why we need this. Don't we have enough other problems? When will this trend be over? I cannot listen to it any longer. Another training that will have no impact when we talk about DE&I trainings. Such a waste of money. We heard that budget was also mentioned by you several times now in the chat. We could use this for more important things. And we treat everybody fairly anyway already, so why do we need this? And you already get the sense those statements might sound a little bit pessimistic, but we also know there are other responses to DEI initiatives that we tend to forget or not put into the focus. And another solution might be to exactly bring positive statements of DEI initiatives into the spotlight. And I think Juan will give us some insights now on the various personas that one can be confronted with when talking about DEI initiatives. There are different responses that we are experiencing, and some of them are also positive, not only critical.
Yeah. Well,
Handing over to you, Juan.
Thank you so much, Tamara. So as Tamara just said, we have seen and heard some examples of very negative reactions to DEI initiatives. And traditionally, responses to DEI initiatives have been divided into those more negative responses and resistance versus positive responses and support. But research has shown that there are actually more responses than just positive and negative. And it is very important for us to understand this full range of responses to actually navigate effectively. So research has identified 4 types of responses to DEI initiatives, which I want to quickly introduce, and we will go into more details later on. So first up, we have the excited supporters. So the excited supporters are actually your allies when it comes to DEI initiatives and DEI work. They are very passionate about DEI and eager to take action, and their energy and motivation can help to drive momentum for DEI initiatives. Second, we have the calm compliers. These people, they do agree with DEI efforts, but they don't really want to take an active role. So these are the people that will voluntarily participate in DEI trainings, and they will also accept new initiatives, but they will not take the lead in driving these initiatives forward. However, they are still very important because they generally align with DEI goals, and they just might need a little bit more support and encouragement to become more active and more engaged. Next, we also have the torn shapers. So torn shapers are a little bit more complex. These people, they support the idea of diversity, but they have concerns about the implementation of DEI initiatives. So they may feel uncertain or conflicted about how the initiatives are communicated or about the motives behind these initiatives. This makes them actually very critical voices to engage because their feedback can offer valuable insights into potential blind spots. And last, we have the discontented opponents. And these are the people who fundamentally oppose DEI efforts. So their resistance can range from quiet and passive disengagement to very confrontational and verbal criticism. So to effectively deal with resistance, especially with opposers, it's crucial to understand why people worry about or resist DEI, because opposition isn't always rooted in rejection of diversity itself, but usually there are hidden fears or worries that can drive people to resist these initiatives. And as you all know, DEI initiatives often bring about significant changes. And with that change, it's very common for some individuals, especially those in majority groups, to feel psychological threats. And these threats are very powerful drivers of resistance, and they often arise when people feel their status, merit, or even their moral standing is at risk. So research has identified 3 core types of threats that drive resistance. And first, we have a status threat. So majority group members who have traditionally benefited from being in positions of privilege may feel that their organizational status or resources are being threatened by these new DEI initiatives. This perception often leads to a zero-sum view where any gain by minority groups, whether it's more opportunities, promotions, or representation, feels like a direct loss for the majority group. Second, we have merit threat. So this is actually the fear that DEI initiatives imply that any personal achievements aren't the result of hard work or talent, but are solely based upon group membership. So those experiencing merit threat may feel that acknowledging bias or inequality kind of explain away their own accomplishments. And this is especially the case if they are strongly committed to value systems that prize hard work and individual merit. And lastly, we have moral threats. So some majority group members experience moral threat, especially if they're committed to the ideal of equality. So when DEI efforts highlight systematic privilege, these individuals may feel that recognizing their own privilege tarnishes their moral self-image, linking them to an unfair system. So admitting their own privilege can challenge one's self-perception as a fair or good person, leading to discomfort and in some cases, withdrawal from DEI efforts. So those are the comments like, I don't have any privilege, I'm not biased at all. So they try to distance themselves from these issues. And research shows that these threats often lead to this type of defensiveness or even very direct opposition. And to conclude, people may not resist DEI because they reject its principles, but because they feel very vulnerable. So how can leaders address the whole range of reactions, especially from those who feel these psychological threats most strongly? One key challenge is that many leaders fall into the trap of relying on what's called happy talk. So happy talk is actually the tendency to only highlight the positive aspects of diversity, like how it improves creativity, innovation, and overall business performance. And while these benefits are real and can motivate employees, only focusing on them can feel too simplistic or unrealistic, especially to those who are already resistant or kind of skeptical of DEI efforts. So overcoming these psychological threats requires a more nuanced approach, and one that actually acknowledges both the benefits and the challenges of diversity work. So research suggests that acknowledging the challenges of DEI rather than only focusing on the positive outcomes actually makes initiatives more credible and actionable. So leaders should be transparent about the difficulties involved in promoting DEI and explain that creating a truly inclusive workplace does require commitment and effort, and sometimes even uncomfortable conversations. And the rationale behind this is that people won't put as much effort and energy into goals that are apparently kind of easy to reach. So if goals are phrased as challenging, people will put more effort and commitment towards attaining these goals. And although leaders are often hesitant to highlight the challenges related to DEI work because they fear a negative image or backlash, research shows that highlighting both the benefits and the challenges actually motivate employees even more to become engaged. This is also where inclusive leadership comes into play. So often DEI efforts place a very heavy emphasis on differences and on being different is good and all the benefits related to diversity. But sometimes this happens at the expense of unity. So focusing only on diversity without fostering a sense of shared purpose or a shared identity can lead to division. The goal of inclusive leadership is about engaging in those tough conversations, addressing any concerns openly, and making sure that everyone, especially those who feel threatened, see themselves as part of the solution. So inclusive leadership should foster an environment where employees feel both valued for their unique perspectives and also opinions, but they should also feel connected to a larger unified goal. And balancing diversity or being different and unity may seem somewhat paradoxical at first, but creating a space where everyone feels heard and that they belong can actually help to transform opposition into understanding and eventually also into support. So that was quite theoretical so far. We now want to take a look at how leaders can actually deal with different types of responses in regard to DEI initiatives. So I've mentioned it before that inclusive leadership isn't a one-size-fits-all approach, but leaders must be flexible and adaptable when facing various reactions to DEI initiatives. That said, inclusive leadership isn't only about managing resistance, but it is also about leveraging support. So how can leaders engage with those who are already enthusiastic about DEI efforts? So this brings us to our excited supporters. Excited supporters are actually your catalysts for change. They are often the champions of DEI within an organization. And these individuals are already very enthusiastic about DEI, and this makes them essential allies in moving initiatives forward. They are eager to take part in DEI initiatives and can serve as a strong role model, inspiring their colleagues to also engage with these efforts. So their passion and energy can have a powerful ripple effect throughout the organization, influencing others and driving momentum. Leaders should view them not just as participants, but as key drivers who can help accelerate change. And I think Tamara is going into more details how to actually do this in practice.
Yeah, we wanted to give you like kind of handbook and toolbox to also help you out in translating those theories into practice and how you can utilize that also in a workplace environment to guarantee the success of DEI initiatives and having responses to the various personas that you might be confronted with. So actions to engage and to utilize the energy of excited supporters can be to, for example, involve them in steering committees or leading projects for DEI, leveraging their passion by giving them responsibility, utilizing them and their enthusiasm about the topic. Another option can be to use their enthusiasm to influence others. So that can be done through a steering committee, for example, but also utilizing them as like ambassadors for the topic. This peer influence is often more effective when it's done top down, and that can be utilized for a whole organization. We also thought about concrete examples that can be implemented in a workplace environment, running diversity workshops to engage and motivate peers, encourage excited supporters to take active roles in those initiatives, leading workshops, panels, or other cultural awareness campaigns. And they can help to create a safe space for the topic, creating an environment of discussion and learning, while the topic can still be relatable to others. Another example can be making them part of the process. So giving them, as I said, an official ambassador role in a DEI council to have like this spillover effect of their excitement into the organization, to the rest of the council team. And using those roles as an official channel to utilize their energy and making them owners of DEI initiatives, making them owners of process.
All right. So on to the next type of response. Those are the calm compliers, and calm compliers are individuals who are generally supportive of DEI initiatives, but they are less active in their engagement. So they support DEI goals, but they are not deeply involved into the day-to-day activities or leadership of these initiatives. They are crucial to the success of DEI efforts because their moderated support can actually be expanded into more active participation and also broaden the reach of DEI efforts within the organization. So the job of leaders is to actually support calm compliers. Tamara is going to give more concrete actions on how to do this.
So also here, there are ways how to also utilize this type of response, and to find the right response to those responses in order to engage them in DEI initiatives. So an action can be to keep them informed through regular updates and educational sessions, maintaining their interest. So there is already a certain generic interest for the topic and a good starting point of calm compliance that you can work on. So maintaining that interest and commitment by providing consistent updates on DEI progress, keeping them informed, sharing goals, successes. Regular educational sessions can also help to deepen their understanding and maybe even have the opportunity to transition them into a excited supporter. You can also use emotional appeals to encourage more active participation. So connecting DEI initiatives to their personal values, rating and emotional motivation, highlighting how active participation in DEI can align with those personal beliefs and also potentially with their career goals, making the cause more relatable and urgent. And to name some examples that can proactively be implemented is like hosting informational sessions on DEI benefits and goals. That can be a reoccurring monthly information session, can be in the form of, to make it more interactive, of training nuggets that you can offer, podcast short sequences. So organizing sessions that detail the benefits of DEI initiatives and the specific goals of the organization, what the organization is striving to achieve with those initiatives. And those sessions can help to see the impact of their support and how they can also play a more active role in those initiatives. Another example could be to use their sponsorship or network to promote DEI initiatives. So also if they are not proactively engaging or showing to be an ambassador for DEI initiatives like the excited supporters, it's still very useful to leverage their networks and influence their influence on calm compliers to spread the DEI message. So that's something that can help to also encourage them to use their connections, make them aware of their network, and seeing and also demonstrating their impact that they have into the organization by utilizing this network.
Right.
Okay.
So the next response or the next personas are torn shapers. These are individuals who have mixed feelings about DEI initiatives. They support the idea of diversity, but they have concerns about how initiatives are implemented. So it is very crucial to actually engage with torn shapers because they can offer valuable insights into challenges and also concerns surrounding DEI efforts. So their mixed feelings actually represent an opportunity to address any uncertainties and also to potentially convert their skepticism into support. And yeah, Tamara is going to give some concrete examples on how to engage with torn shapers.
Yeah, as Huang said, they have mixed feelings. So we have to find a way on how to make those feelings clearer to them and kind of put them into or help them to get into the right spot. So an action can be to also include them, engage them in dialogues to express their concerns, better understand why are they torn towards different directions. So yeah, providing those forums to engage them maybe in one-on-one settings or in small group conversations to delve into those mixed feelings and get a feedback on what's working and what isn't from their point of view, and giving them the feeling of being heard and opening the possibility with setting the stage for this dialogue to help them get orientation and help them to find the direction that works best for them. Another action can be to use forums or roundtables, which is similar, setting up a stage for open discussion, creating a structured forum roundtable to discuss where they are feeling, where they are heard, where their voice and their concerns can be shared in a safe and open environment. So that's a crucial part to allow that psychological safe space where there is no judgment, where you just have the opportunity to listen. So that's the first important part, to listen, to understand, and not listen to respond and force something on them, but rather open that space and a trustful environment for them to express their thoughts. So when we talk about concrete examples, how you can put that into practice, you can address the concerns to transform them into active supporters. So actively working with them to resolve the specific concern. And by addressing those issues, you can show a willingness to adapt. So not just listening and doing anyway what the agenda was, but rather taking that input into consideration to create a DEI initiative that is helping also to shift their hesitant to support. Then another example can be to expose them to interactions with minority groups. So proactively setting up a situation facilitated by the organization that exposes them to minority groups, for example, coffee chats. Yeah, just facilitating that possibility to get in touch. Often it's just a lack of interaction that, or the interaction that is missing to better understand also and better emphasize with minority groups. And that also helps to maybe clear up some blind spots that torn shapers might have. And that can be an eye-opener, being exposed to other groups that torn shapers might not be exposed to a certain extent within an organizational setting. We know that that's already talking about borders within the organization, yeah, to interact with people from other departments, understanding the interfaces, allowing them to put themselves into the shoes of another department already has a great impact to optimize internal processes. And that can be the same concept by setting up interactions with minority groups in the work environment.
Right. So now on to the last and well, most strong and negative possible response to DEI initiatives. Those are the discontented opponents. Discontented opponents are those who fundamentally oppose DEI initiatives. So they may express this opposition through passive resistance, passive disengagement, but also through very verbal criticism. So their resistance can be quite emotional, quite intense, making it challenging to navigate their objections. However, the goal is for leaders to still address their concerns constructively in order to create a more inclusive organization in the long run. Exactly. So let's look at the actions.
Yeah, and you will hear dialogue, communication, information a lot, and that's something also here as an action that can be taken. Will be repeated like a broken record, as you can see also from the previous actions. Dialogue, talking to each other, that's one of the most powerful tools that you have. So an action can be to mitigate resistance through perspective taking, opening that dialogue again, engaging in empathetic dialogues, initiating those conversations with these content opponents to understand their perspectives and the root cause of their opposition, using active listening to acknowledge their concerns. So similar to what I just said, demonstrating the empathy, and this approach can help to de-escalate tension, taking out speed of or dynamics of a situation that has been maybe built over a certain period of time, and setting a foundation for constructive discussions. Perspective taking, very powerful tool, encouraging leaders and team members to view the situation from the opponent's point of view. That can also be done through role plays. So if you want to make it more playful in a workshop setting, just try to switch roles, and this involves recognizing also their fears, concerns, and motivations, and addresses those factors directly in such workshop settings, in conversations, and can also then be transferred into their decision-making process, which makes it easier to relate to other perspectives, to other people involved in a decision-making process. Then we have another action defined to find common ground and provide clear accountability structures. So here the goal would be to identify shared values, looking for areas of common interest that can serve as a basis for finding common ground, emphasizing how DEI initiatives can align with broader organizational goals. That's always very powerful, to use the organization strategy and goals and break that down into a DEI strategy, and setting up DEI goals that are supporting to achieve the organizational goals. Establishing clear accountability structures, implementing transparent process and accountability mechanisms to address concerns about fairness and integrity. And this can include setting clear expectations for how DEI initiatives will be evaluated and measured, and how feedback from the employees, including opponents, will be handled. So also here again, addressing various parties in that process, and taking all feedback serious. Examples, we also listed 2 examples here. You can implement impartial grievance systems and open dialogue forums. As I said, your communication key, that's something that you will repeatedly hear. So creating a system where employees can raise concerns and grievances related to DEI initiatives is a powerful mechanism here. And again, making sure that it is a safe, confidential way of doing so, ensuring that those systems are also accessible. So making sure that the organization is aware of them, and that they can be utilized to address things promptly and also in a fairly manner. Open dialogue forums, organizing those regular forums where all employees, including discontent opponents, can engage. Again, here in a respectful dialogue and a safe, open setting. And they should be, again, structured to allow that honest discussion while maintaining also focus on constructive solutions. So when guiding through such processes and moderator of such a forum has to be very skilled in also guiding those conversations, being able to de-escalate if situations get, or if discussions get heated up. So here it's also very important to have trained people that are knowing what they're doing when they are accompanying this process. Okay. Then let's go to the next. I know we have approximately 15 minutes left, so I have to look at the time, as I still want to give you an example on a used case, which is from our point of view very important and also helpful for you to be implemented, or as I would say, food for thought, if that's something that's also interesting for you. Still, I want to address one open question. You heard now about these 4 different responses that DEI initiatives can cause or can lead to. So a question here would be from our end, if you in the past already experienced situations that sound similar to what you heard now from our end, and on how you responded to those situations. Maybe unintentionally you were already using those methods that we just shared with you. So it would be great to also get some insight here from your end to see what you have been doing in the past already. You can use the chat again or speak up and use the microphone if you wish.
Hi, this is Thomas speaking. Don't know whether you see me. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear and see you.
I have a general question. The responses to the D&I, are there, except from the things that we went through, which I agree to, for example, exposing people to minority group or disadvantaged group and so on. I mean, this typology we have for every change. It doesn't matter what you want to do. You have always the excited people who go first. You have people who say, yeah, it's probably okay, but they don't raise their voice. You have people who are not undecided. And then you have people who resist more or less openly, right? Is there any techniques, except for some specific one, that you would say they're specifically for D&I and less for general change? So what I mean is there anything on top of the general change resistance that we deal with this on a daily basis. It's not only D&I, but are there specific things that you would say where D&I is different and techniques we should use or deploy that might be helpful for the specific challenge that we're having?
That's a very good question. So I agree that these responses are quite similar to when you experience change, because change can also elicit threat. But I'd say that one thing, for example, that can be useful is to use also exercises such as self-affirmation. So if we talk about merit threat or a moral threat, the problem is often that people think, okay, DEI is another thing that we are obligated to do and to fulfill, and it's like an expectation we have to improve or make better than others in the majority group. But it can help to minimize those threats if you think about in what areas were you already successful in helping other people. So making it broader and not focusing on DEI so much. So people are often threatened because they think, okay, I am associated with the privilege and the system that is biased and has advantages for me. So paraphrasing it as a initiative where you can actually drive change and it is according to your moral standard might activate the people more, and also think about times outside of DEI where you reflect on your own values and your qualities. So think about a time when you, example, helped a friend. So this reflects on loyalty, for example, or on helpfulness, despite the DEI sphere, and can help to reduce threats. So I'd say there are some tools that can help minimize those very superficial differences and focus more on the common ground and make people more open for this type of change. So I don't know if that was too much, but I try to, like, I absolutely agree. There is like this general type of threat that comes also with different types of change. But in the DEI sphere, it can help to not only focus on DEI, but more focusing on the common ground that people have and also their morals, values, and what they already did, a positive quality about their organization or themselves to minimize those threats.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Huong, and thank you for the question, Tom. And I see another comment in the chat, which I want to pick up as for sure the topic is also how we can relate all this to inclusive leadership, right? So having that knowledge of the different responses that we just learned helps us and leaders then at the end also to translate that into an inclusive leadership and creating a forum where with different initiatives you can support in educating about unconscious bias, creating awareness of unconscious bias helps leaders in the when you turn it around, helps leaders then to practice a more inclusive leadership style. And when we look at the use case that we wanted to share with you on the next page, that can be a tool as an example that can be implemented in organizations to train leaders on those biases, establishing a deep understanding of diversity and cultivate an inclusive leadership environment. The concept here, it's called the diversity parcours. You see on the bottom, on the right, the link to an organization that is providing that parcours to organizations. It's a German company. And the concept is a self-guided learning experience through 5 different stations that can be explored in a training setting, in a workshop setting. So there are different implementation modes that you can choose from in order to meet your needs best and to also set up specific DEI initiatives within the organization. Briefly going through those 5 stages, and that's really just a high-level overview for you. The first station helps to raise awareness about the mechanisms of stereotyping. The setting here is a dialogue setting. So you see different personas that you with a speaker that you can listen to, and you will see the bias that is arising when you just look at the personas, and then better understand their background by listening to them. So that's, I would say, a classroom setting of dialogue, actions, examples that we mentioned earlier that can be set up with real people, obviously, as well. And that's a classroom setting, listening to predefined personas. Station number 2 is a reflection on one's own diversity beyond projected stereotypes. A questionnaire that can be easily done on an iPad, and the result gives the person who's doing the questions to understand how they can be stereotyped from other people. So giving them a picture how they might be perceived from their environment, and better understanding that they can also be potentially put into a box based on their preferences, on their characteristics. Station number 3 is a lot of data studies on diversity. So for people that are very fact-based, that want to have data to better understand the topic, there are a lot of statistics and research results specifically for the German market. So that's something that needs to be considered if that's if you want to implement it in another country. And we had companies in Austria implementing that as well. You would have to do some more research for the specific market, but that's also a powerful tool to just put hard facts out there, yeah, and understand how low the female rate in leadership positions is, for example. You can also display company-specific data to make it more visible, yeah, for everybody in the organization, how different ratios are set up, yeah. So that can be an add-on also to make it more specific for your organization. Station number 4, it's called the Team Composer. That's an acoustic essence of diversity, where you have different blocks that are put on a table and they're making sounds. So the concept behind that is to see different shapes, different colors that are getting together, making different sounds, yeah, and you can translate that into team dynamics, understanding that a combination of different characters, personalities, team members is creating a different tone, yeah, and that might not always be harmonic, yeah, and the challenge then also for leaders is on how, with their leadership style, if you transfer that metaphor into reality, how their leadership style can navigate those different tones within a team to still make them feel heard, all of them. And station number 5 relates to some examples that we gave, actions that can be set up. The Diversity Lab is enabling to share experiences. So getting in contact with minority groups, with members from groups that you are not so exposed to on a daily basis. So there are different categories that people can address them to. And then you can choose on like a blind date who of these groups you would like to meet. And yeah, that offers the opportunity, the forum to create those interactions. Okay, I'm just following up on the chat as well in parallel to make sure I'm not missing out any comments. Maybe you can help me out on that as well, Huong.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I think we are not yet doing a good job in translating that into the connection of inclusive leadership. Let me try a little bit harder. So, and we have a couple of minutes left to make that closing point. to better create that relationship. So how can, for example, the diversity parcours foster more inclusive leadership? On the one hand, creating that awareness for bias. On the other hand, enabling, as we said also before, an improved decision-making process by understanding biases, being able to include everybody within the team to be heard. That might have been not the case before such a training. Yeah, this training or initiatives help to clear up blind spots that might have been there before, and leaders might not even have been aware of that. Or encouraging diverse contributions. So understanding the diversity in a team and proactively creating that environment of including those various voices within the team by being aware that there are various voices that should be included into a decision-making process. Enhancing empathy and understanding, this perspective taking that we were talking about today, being able to emphasize, put yourself into the shoes of others, and with that, being able to include those perspectives of others. And at the end, also creating equitable opportunities. So if we are aware of the biases that we have the opportunity to create a fair environment, to offer opportunities for everybody within a team. Do you want to add something, Huong?
No, it was great. I think we have some questions about the parcours itself.
Okay.
So as far as I know, we are currently, or you are currently still evaluating the effectiveness of this training, right?
Correct. Yeah. So we did a study with 900 leaders within an organization that went through that parcours and completed. 1/3 of those participants also completed our survey. So that is currently evaluation that we are making to better understand the causal effects of the parcours on inclusive leadership. Correct. So we're excited on the results that we are happy to share then also once they are analyzed, and that's something that we will be able to provide as well. Yeah.
Because there was a comment that research shows that bias can be reinforced when being confronted with your biases in such a parcours. But you haven't looked at your data yet, or did you consider this when designing the training? Because as far as now, you had debriefing sessions afterwards, right? I don't know.
Correct. Yeah. So what we did, we have on the one hand quantitative data collected with a survey, and then at the end of each training session, we also opened up the forum to debrief on the experience. Yeah, understand what have been the immediate learnings, understand their experiences, similar what we did in the opening. Understanding their experiences with the topic from the past, and also collecting recommendations on how or learnings on what they would change going forward. So that has been integrated and will be analyzed as qualitative data that also still needs to be done. Yeah.
Right. So all the questions on the parcours, we will empirically test the effectiveness and qualitatively look into the mechanisms behind it. So we can answer more questions and details on that at a later point, but I see we're running out of time.
Yes, well, yes. It's time to say goodbye. would you have some final remarks for us? Because people are now, like nervous to see the GDPR report, which is about to start.
In an hour, right?
Yeah, final last key takeaways. Individuals respond to DEI initiatives as we learned today, excited supporters, calm compliers, tone shapers, or discontent opponents, and each requiring different engagement strategies. DEI initiatives can trigger psychological threats like status, merit, and moral threats leading to resistance. What Huang explained to us, we talked about how effective inclusive leadership involves balancing the promotion of diversity with the need for unity, acknowledging both the benefits and challenges of diversity. And the success of diversity initiatives depend on the support of those in power. So overcoming resistance to DEI initiatives requires a targeted approach, including various actions like open dialogues, perspective taking, and establishing a clear accountability. So thank you all for joining us today. Apologies for the 2 minutes that we are late now. I know there are exciting other topics coming up as well where we don't want to steal that time. Thank you, Julius, as well.
Thank you, everybody. Thank a lot, Tamara. Thank a lot, Huang. And well, I don't have to tell you guys, you already know the GDPR report is coming in about slightly less than an hour. So it's time to get that coffee, relax after this session, maybe do some work, and then hopefully see the numbers there go just a little bit better than last time. Because it's like 3 years in a row where they did not improve. I'm really curious how it's going to be this year. Okay. Bye-bye, everybody.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
Bye-bye.